Alright, so let's start on an IDW. This is a drawing file, and so I can go back and I can pick on new. Now actually I don't want to do a new, I want to go ahead and do an open. I'll tell you why. When I do the open, I have an A&E CAD B Proto that I've saved into my folder here. So I'm going to pick on that and I'm going to pick open. So I'm going to open up a blank prototype drawing. Alright, and so you may want to copy like the A&E CAD B Proto into your folder before you start this. So once you have that open, I want to show you something. This is going to be sheet 1, and you can see it says sheet 1 over here on the side. Pardon me. If I right click, I can pick new sheet, and it asks me how to want to fill out the title block, but if I just pick OK, it will skip over that. And now you can see I have sheet 1 and sheet 2. If I double click on sheet 1, you can see what's in sheet 1. If I double click on sheet 2, you can see what's on sheet 2. So right now nothing. So I'm going to double click back on sheet 1. Then I'm going to go over here to my base view tool. I'm going to pick on that, and let's see, what does it say? I have to save this before placing a view. I'll pick OK. And I'm just going to save it as Assembly 6 and pick Save. You will probably give yours a name as VClamp Assembly, but I'm just going to call mine that. Alright, so you can see that because the last thing I worked on was that IAM, that assembly file, that it's bringing that in. I'm going to put it into the home view so I can see what it looks like. I'm going to change the scale of this thing to 1, so it's full size. I'm going to go to my display options. I'm going to uncheck tangent features and go back to here. I want it to be shaded. I don't want to show hidden lines, so I'm going to pick OK and see what I get here. Yeah, that looks good. So it's shaded. It doesn't have hidden lines and it doesn't have tangent edges. So I'm going to drag that over and kind of center it in this area here. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pick on the Annotate tab, and I'm going to add balloons to this. And so here's the balloon tool up here. So pick on balloon and move over here and pick on the edge of this part. Look, it's going to ask me something. I'm just going to pick OK, pick OK. And again, it brings me back. I've picked on the edge of that part, and now I'm just going to bring my mouse out a distance, and you want to kind of look at the angle, kind of pick something that looks like a good angle. Move out, pick, and then right click and pick continue. And I'm still in the balloon command, so if I come over here and I pick on this edge and I come off kind of at a complementary or corresponding angle just in the opposite direction, I'm going to pick, right click, continue. So I want to make these lengths of these leaders approximately the same and kind of similar angles. I don't want it to be going all over the place. The reason why this shows it as part number 1, because this is the first part I put into the assembly, and this is part number 2 because it was the second part I put into the assembly. Now the next thing I want to do, I'm going to customize this balloon. So I'm going to press escape and get out of it, and I'm going to move on to a balloon and just till that dot lights up, and then I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to pick Edit Balloon Style, and it takes a second for this box to open up. And this is our balloon controls over here, and so look where it says shape and pick on this down arrow, and we're going to pick the 2 entries, circular 2 entries. Pick on that, and what my entries are going to be, it's going to be 2 numbers, and the top number will be the part number, and the second number will be the quantity that there are in the assembly. So that's what I have set here. So I've got this set, so I'm going to pick Save and Close. And so what it's telling me is that the clamp is part number 2, and there is 1 of those in the assembly. If there were 4 of those, it would say part number 2 and 4. So over here, this is part number 1 on the top, and there's 1 in the assembly. The next thing we want to do is place a parts list into this. So pick on your parts list tool, which is right here. Pick on parts list, and it says select the view. And the view that we want is, of course, this view here. So we pick on that and pick OK. And when we drag this over, I want to place it right on top of my title block, and I want to put it right into the corner right here. All right. Now, there's a couple of changes that I want to make to this guy here. First off, I want everything in here to be capitalized. Pardon me. And the reason this is not capitalized is that when I made the VBlock base, I saved it with this name and I didn't use capital letters. And I did that on purpose to show you what happens. Whatever you name your part, that's what you're going to get into the parts list. So since we generally want all these to be capitalized, in the future, every time you save a part, use all caps. All right. Also, we want parts list to be capitalized, but that's something else. So let me show you what I can do here. If I double click on just the parts list, it brings this up, and I can go right into here and I can highlight that, and I can just retype that as whatever I want that to be. For example, V-clamp base, and I could just name this clamp if that's what I want that to be named, and pick OK, and those guys will go in there all caps. Now, changing the parts list and some other stuff is actually, these are the settings that customize our parts list altogether. So what I want to do is I want to move on to this guy and right click, and then I want to choose Edit Parts List Style. And in a second that dialog box is going to open up, and I want to show you what I want to do. I want parts list to be on the bottom, and so the way you do that is you go to the heading over here and pick on the down arrow and choose where it shows that dark line at the bottom. Pick on that, and the other thing I want is I want the numbers to start at 1 on this line and 2, so they're going to go up. So I'm going to pick on that, and I'm going to pick Save and Close, and you'll see what happens. So I have parts list on the bottom, part 1, part 2. The reason why we do it that way is when you put your parts list down here above the title block, if you added more parts, you would have to have room to do that, so they would go above this on the list. All right, now I didn't change this to all caps, so to show you again, I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to go to Edit Parts List Style, and when this opens, see where it says Parts List right here? We're going to put caps lock on and just retype that and pick Save and Close, and now Parts List goes in at all caps. Okay, so that's what our first sheet is going to look like in this drawing file. The second sheet, I'm going to go over here and double click on sheet 2. Then I'm going to go to Place Views, and I'm going to Base, and I'm going to pick on this, and I'm going to go to my base this time and pick Open, and I'm going to put that right now, that's at 1 to 1. I think I'm going to set that to 3 equals 4. So it'll be 3/4 scale, and I'm going to drag that kind of over to here and pick OK. So there's the front view of the base. So I'm going to do a projected view off of that guy. I'm going to come up here and pick, right click, create. I'm going to do another projected view off of that, and so I want to come off of this in this direction. I want to pick, right click, create. Alright, so those are going to be my 3 views, and I'm going to put all my dimensions on these views here. I'm going to do another base view, and this time I'm going to go pick on the clamp, that guy right there, and pick Open, and I'm going to drag it over to here, and I'm going to pick, and I'm going to pick OK, and then I'm going to do a projected view off of this. I'm going to go up here and pick, and right click, create, and these are my front and top views of that. Alright, so now what you're going to do is go in and carefully place all of your dimensions, and those dimensions should comply with the ASME dimensioning rules and everything. And remember that the nominal dimension sizes for the clamp are in Blackboard, and you should pay attention to those, that some of those dimensions in Blackboard you're going to see are only going to 1 decimal place of precision. Like the distance from this edge to this edge, I think it just says 4.0. So we're putting a looser tolerance from this edge to this edge because nothing mates with that. There's no reason to have a really tight tolerance on that. There's a few others that are also at 1 decimal place of precision, so pay attention to those. And that ends the video.